Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Sid's Reviews. My name is Dale, and first of all, I just wanted to thank all my new followers who've been subscribing to this channel. I really appreciate it and all your comments so far on my previous videos. And just a reminder to anyone new here, if you like these videos about electronic reviews or general hi-fi discussions, please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel because it really helps support what I'm trying to do here with electronic reviews. Anyway, this video today is all about the Triangle Borea BR03, BR03 hi-fi speaker. Triangle is a hi-fi French electronic speaker manufacturer. They've been in business for over 40 years, and this Borea line represents their budget entry-level speakers. And I've really enjoyed them, and I wanted to give you my thoughts on why I think these speakers are very special. Let's get into it. Price for these units, this one here in Canada retails right now for $699, and you can get them on Amazon or a few different online stores in Canada. In the US, I believe these retail for $549 US, and in Europe, I believe they retail for 399 euros. Okay, so quickly going over the front of the speaker here, we'll start off with the tweeter. It's a 1-inch silk dome tweeter that has kind of a sound diffuser here that disperses the sound out wide. Below is a 6-inch mid-range bass driver constructed of, this is like paper cellulose membrane, I guess, so, and its color, it's supposed to not color the sound in any way, so we'll get to the sound in a second. And below is a couple of bass ports here. And also this is the speaker cover that comes with it, and it has magnets on it, so I really appreciate that. It's a nice touch. Okay, this is the back of the speaker here. As you can see, there's a couple of pretty nice here speaker binding posts, and that's about it. It's an 8-ohm speaker, and the power handling here, max power is 100 watts, and the sensitivity on them is 90 decibels. So that's it. Now let's get to what these triangles sound like. Okay, so I purchased these Triangle Borea BR03 speakers about a year ago online here in Canada. The sound right out of the box, let me tell you, was very good on them, even though that I think that after about probably 20 or 25 hours that they did, I think, break in a little bit. I think the sound got a little bit more smoother in there. I purchased these after I lived with the Elac Debuts B6.2s. I had those for about a year before I picked these up. And the reason why I decided to sell my Elacs and then go with the Triangles is I was very happy with the Elacs, but I just thought that after a while at really high volumes that I think the sound was kind of fatiguing a little bit, and also I wanted a bit more punch, I guess, to the sound. I thought there was always something more, I think, that I was missing from the music that I like to listen to anyway. And so after looking at all the positive reviews on this, especially from Sean at Zero Fidelity, I decided to purchase these, and I'm very happy I did. Now overall with the sound of these, I think number one is the tone of these is very good with these speakers, especially paired with my Iota VX SA3 amp. I think the two together just produce a real magical type presentation, and I think it mixes with all the music that I listen to really well. I listen to mostly classic rock, hard rock, some hip hop in there. I do have a 5-year-old daughter that likes that type of music. I like it too. So those are like the three main types of musics that I listen to in here. And just for comparison's sake, when I played the music on the Elac B6.2, one track in particular was by Fleetwood Mac on the Rumors album's Secondhand News. When I really cranked it up on there, on the Elacs, it was kind of harsh at the top end of it for me. I felt like the snare drum or something just really cracked, and it just started to kind of lose its composure on there. With these Triangles, when I played the same track at the same high volume, the sound on there wasn't harsh like that. You do get that sparkle with the treble, with the top end of it, but it never becomes harsh or fatiguing. And hopefully, I don't think that has anything to do with the speaker. I think that has to do with maybe the Iota VX, because it's kind of neutral sounding, maybe brings it back a little bit and really makes this speaker shine. And I think that's why they're such a good combo. Now, this is not to say that I think that the treble is bright in any way at all, like I think that some other reviewers have indicated on there. This isn't bright at all. This, to me, is very, there's some revealing to it for sure. I think there's some sparkle to it, but in no way did I ever find that this tweeter on here is bright. And in fact, I think it's a very good tweeter, and I like the way too that it disperses the sound on it. And I think that helps. Instead of, you know, if you want to point it directly at you, you're not going to get any type of, you know, very much difference in the tweeter sound of it. It's not going to, you know, kind of be at you. I think with this diffuser here in the middle, it disperses the sound. And when I find too that, you know, when I am off axis on the speakers, you know, I could either point it directly out into the room while I'm in the middle, or I could point it at me a little bit, or if I'm even walking around the room, the sound to me, it doesn't dissipate at all when I move. You know, when some speakers, you kind of, when you're out of the sweet spot, you kind of lose all the dynamics and all the punch and all the clarity of the music. With these ones, you could walk around the room. Literally, you could go from like one end and then 10 feet on this side, and it still sounds really good. Now, it's not as perfect as being in the middle, of course, but you definitely notice a difference between these and the other speakers, especially the Elacs that I had. Whereas the Elacs, you kind of had to be in a certain area for them to sound really good. These ones are more forgiving, and it has to do, I believe, with this diffuser here in the middle of the tweeter. Okay, so the mid-range here on the speaker, which, you know, to me is like the vocals and stuff, I think they're very good on this speaker. I think the voices come through very clear and articulate. It has a little bit of, I think it's a little bit forward presented, so I think the voices come out just a little bit forward for where the speakers are. And they've always been very good. They never sound thin. It sounds good with male and female voices as well. I think the female voices sound really good on this, very natural, and I think it has to do with that paper cellulose membrane that they put on here, so it doesn't color anything on here, and it just sounds very natural to me. Now, the bass on this speaker has always been something that's been very talked about. A lot of people said that the bass is very strong on this speaker, and then of course now there's some newer reviews out where it said the bass is really lacking. My experience on these speakers paired with the Iota VX SA3 has been very good. I've never felt a need to use a subwoofer at any point. I have my speakers placed in my room, and I pull them out about 2 feet from the back wall here, and I think that's ideal. I get bass that's very, I would say, very strong, but never like overwhelming. The detail and the tightness of the bass, I think, is very good. Of course, there are better speakers than it is for that, but I think for what you get here, I think it's very adequate. The overall tone of these speakers, I think, is very good. I think there's a good balance between the bass, the mid-range, and the tweeter on it. I don't think anyone, you know, overcompensates or is less than one or the other. These speakers sound really good at very low volumes, and sounds very good at high volumes as well. So I've had these things up to like 95 dBs, and it's played very clear with and very dynamic as well. So, and on low volumes for nighttime listening, I think it's very good as well on there. I've been really surprised with the amount of detail that you still get at low volumes when I place it on my Iota VX. Now, my Iota VX SA3, of course, is a Class AB amp, and the only other amp that I've tested with these speakers was the recent review that I did, link in the description above, was the Fozzy Audio integrated amp on there. That's a Class D amp. And that with these speakers sounded very good as well. Like I said, as long as you have that amplifier on the proper equalization, of course, these speakers sound just absolutely great on it. Very dynamic, very punchy. So yeah, you know, Class D, Class AB, I don't see any too much difference with these speakers. They have that tone that I think a lot of people will like for sure. Okay, as well, like the imaging with these speakers, I think is very good. When I sit in the middle and, you know, I'm playing like a Beatles record or something, the voice is right in the middle. I could dial it right in. It's not too fussy about, you know, speaker placement or toe in or out. If I have it out, I could still have that perfect center image on it. And, you know, I think they image really good. As far as soundstage goes, you know, having, you know, different instruments in different places and stuff like that, I think it's okay. It's certainly not the best out there. I wouldn't say. I don't think I've heard too many tracks where I'm like, okay, you know, something's over there, guitar's over here. I think it does a decent job of it. You know, kind of the closer you get to it, I think about 6 to 8 feet away is probably the best to have, you know, you could more recognize the sound stage of it. But this is one aspect where I think probably the Elacs are a little bit better on it with soundstage. You know, if it's a good quality recording out there, you could kind of hear something a little bit outside the speaker of it. When I played the same track on the triangles, it wasn't quite as much there as it was with the Elacs before. Also with the Elacs, I noticed that the front to back 3D soundstage of it was better on the Elacs. On this one, it's kind of 6 to 8 feet. You go up closer, like a desktop type situation. I think they're good, but you know, from forward to back, like you can't really hear too much from the, you know, once you go back to the speakers, obviously the sound gets a little bit more muffled on there, which is funny too, because I noticed on the Elacs, the more front I came to the speakers on the Elacs, the better the sound was, to the point where I was even standing behind the Elacs and it sounded better. And I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, that's good sound station, but who the heck listens to their speakers from behind? So is this a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. You can make up your mind from that. But it's funny though, when you stand in front of the speaker, you figure, okay, that's going to be kind of your best sound, kind of the closer you get. But should it be even better if you're behind it? That's not right to me. But you know, maybe some hi-fi people think that's a good trait, but to each their own. I'll let you make up your mind on that. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to address on this review quickly was some of the polarizing, I guess, reviews on this speaker. So, you know, when it first started out, when Sean first, you know, kind of came out with this thing, I mean, this is one of his best reviews ever. I mean, he didn't say anything really bad about it. He thought it was kind of an all-in-one speaker that a lot of people would enjoy. You know, whether you're, you know, just getting into the hobby and don't quite know what kind of sound you want, or even, you know, somebody who's been in the hobby that wants, you know, a really good budget type bookshelf speaker that could kind of do everything really well. So then more reviews came out, and then, you know, other people were kind of echoing what Sean was saying. And then all of a sudden recently, like within the last 6 months or so, there's been a couple of reviewers out there that, you know, aren't really warm to this speaker at all. In fact, they not only disliked it, but they don't even recommend it. Like, it was completely off the chart for me, and that's really confusing to me. So I was wondering, because they're almost describing the opposite of what this speaker sounds. So while Sean was saying, you know, this thing has an overall tone, and that the, you know, the top end was a little bit revealing but not bright, but the bass was strong, it was kind of the opposite with the other reviewers, where they're saying there was no bass and this thing was too harsh and too bright and it was killing their ears. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I'm not a guy of like conspiracy theories or anything like that, but I do have a theory, and I'm going to mention it quickly on here, that I don't think this is the fault of any reviewer. I mean, these guys have been doing reviews for years, and they've reviewed thousands of products, and their ears are very good, and I trust them, so it can't be that. I don't think it's their equipment that they're using either, because this speaker, to me and to other reviewers out there, sounds roughly the same with all kinds of, you know, equipment, Class D, Class A, tube amplifiers. So what could it be? Well, if you look at the negative reviews on there, and there's a couple of YouTube videos in particular, I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard for you guys to find it. I noticed that the color spec on there for the reviews on the negative speakers were the newer version from Triangle that just came out, which is the light oak version. Now, I'm wondering, I have a little bit of experience in dealing with Chinese manufacturers. These speakers are made in China, by the way, in case you didn't know that. That's how they reach the budget price on them. But dealing with with the manufacturers in China, you know, it could be a good thing. Obviously, brings you some good quality products at good prices. But you also have to be on top of them as well, because a lot of the factories in there, their consistencies, I guess, can go up and down, and it could depend on, you know, the batch of orders that you do, especially when you introduce new colors and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering if Triangle, with the light oak version, either use a different factory on it or brought in components and maybe they just did a bad batch on it. Because if you look at the reviews, the light oak ones were the ones that got the bad reviews on it. The other colors on there, I didn't see any, you know, completely negative reviews. If anything, you know, they either really liked the speaker, or, you know, they could actually recommend it, but maybe it wasn't for them. But for that light color to be the one with the negative reviews really makes me question whether, you know, the Triangle manufacturer just had a bad batch going or something like that. Anyway, just something to think about. Okay. So just to wrap things up here, you know, I've had these speakers now for about a year, and I think, you know, they're obviously broken in now. I've spent quite a few hours listening to them, and I think they're great speakers. I mean, for the price, I think they're, you know, budget to mid-level type speakers. You can get a lot of cheaper speakers for sure on there, but to me, this one was $699 Canadian or $550 US. I think this is a great choice. Why? Because I think this works well with a lot of components. I think it works well with a lot of music that you listen to, and I think that the tone of these speakers, like Sean said, it provides a sound that I think is enjoyable to a lot of people out there. So if you're a beginner, for sure, beginner into this hi-fi journey, or even a person who just wants to get a new set of speakers and that appreciates good sound, these are really great. The tone is good on it. You know, the tweeter is very smooth but a little bit revealing. I do think it has strong bass, and the mid-range to me I think is actually the star on it. I think the voices sound really good with proper imaging and decent soundstage as well. I don't think you could go wrong with these speakers. They're not fussy about placement or components. They're good at low volume and high volumes. It's good with a bunch of all kinds of genres of music, and I think this is a highly recommended product. And that's it. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the Triangle BR03s? I know a lot of reviewers have been reviewing them. I'm just another one that's just throwing my hat into there, telling you guys what I think. I'd like to know what you guys think too. So please leave your comments and questions in the description below there. And please like and subscribe if you enjoy my take on doing reviews. And I'll also be putting in some links on here on where to purchase these in Canada, the US, and Europe as well. And until next time, guys, keep listening to music and having fun, because this is what this hobby is all about. See you next time.